First story. I recorded my wife cheating on me and couldn't stop watching the video. A couple weeks ago, I decided I wanted to surprise my wife with a kid-free night out. My parents live about an hour and a half away from us, and I arranged for the kids to stay with them for the weekend. Usually, when I go to my parents, I am gone until later in the evening. We spend all day there and leave around dinner time. This time, I was dropping the kids off and immediately going home so I could surprise my wife and we could go out as soon as possible. I had made reservations at a nice restaurant and was hoping to go to a few places for some drinks first. I left at 8:30 and was back in our housing plan before 12:30. As I pulled onto my street, I saw a truck parked in front of my house. I did not recognize it. I assumed it was someone seeing the neighbors, though, because it's not that unusual for someone to park in front of our house. I parked a few houses away thinking I would sneak into the house and surprise my wife instead of pulling in the driveway and going in the garage. I went in through a basement door. I was as quiet as possible, but as soon as I walked in I heard her making sounds from the floor above. When I first heard it, I thought she was just by herself, maybe having some personal time. I didn't want to interrupt her privacy and embarrass her, so I was going to go back to my car and just go in the garage so she would know I was home. Then I heard a man's voice. I immediately felt sick. My heart felt like it was going to explode out of my chest. It is hard to describe how I felt in this moment. I decided to go upstairs. I had no desire to confront them, I just wanted to see what was going on. I moved slowly and quietly and went up the stairs. The door was halfway open. The kitchen was empty, but I could tell they were in the living room. It was obvious what was going on at this point by the sounds. There was no way for me to look in the living room without them seeing me. I pulled out my phone and opened my camera app. I put my phone just around the corner of a wall. This part is so hard to write. I could see my wife with a man I didn't recognize. I won't go into detail on what they were doing, but I think you can figure it out. I started recording it. I was thinking that I needed a record of it for whatever I decided to do in the future. I just stood there in my kitchen, watching this all unfold on my phone screen. I felt like I could just scream at any moment, but for some reason I just froze completely. This went on for several minutes. She finally jumped off of him and made a comment about going to the bedroom, and they went upstairs. She even made a comment about how much time they had left. I walked into the living room and found the guy's pants. I took his wallet out and took pictures of his driver's license. I know his name and his address now. I've never met him. I have no idea how my wife knows him. I left the house the same way I entered. I went back to my car and cried like the pathetic man I am. I decided to watch the video to make sure it recorded. I watched it all. I'll spare the details, but I sat in my car for at least half an hour. I couldn't drive to my parents and get the kids as I would have to explain why. I decided that I would pull in the driveway, open the garage, and just pretend like I was there to surprise her. I took my time getting into the house. I made a lot of noise. When I saw her, she was very flustered, asking me why I was home, etc. She was in a robe and said she was just getting ready for a bath. I told her about my plans and she seemed excited. She poured us both a glass of wine and said we should pre-game before getting ready. I don't think I talked much really. She took me into the living room. I'm not proud of what I let happen. I could faintly see the guy sneaking downstairs and going to the basement stairs, but I didn't say or do anything. I just let my wife continue doing what she was doing to me. Since that day, I have watched the video of her repeatedly. I can't bring myself to make any decisions on what I should do next. She seems to know something is wrong with me, because she's asked a few times if I'm okay. I feel worthless, and every time I hit a low point I watch that video again. I feel like I've watched it at least 10 times a day since I caught them. Update. I don't know how to link my old post, sorry. I stopped watching the video after reading all the comments on my first post. It has helped clear my mind and allowed me to focus on next steps. This has allowed me to be mostly back to my normal self for both my kids and my job. I have gone through my wife's phone and found nothing. I searched the guy's name from the driver's license. I've figured out how they met. He's a landscaper. She was calling him a few months ago to clean up our yard and ended up getting some mulching and cleanup done. I've driven past his house many times. I think he is single, as I couldn't find any records of other people living at that address. I've only seen a truck parked in the driveway when I have driven by. I have been avoiding my wife after the kids are in bed to try to limit one-on-one time. I don't want any awkward conversations, and I also don't want to have sex. I have mostly been successful with this, but did slip up one night when I had a little too much to drink. I hated myself for it the next day. I don't believe she has seen him since the day I caught them. I've been paying attention any time she's gone. I obviously can't track her 100%. I've read about Apple AirTags, but I use Android. I'm guessing any app I would put on her phone may be discovered. I have installed a doorbell camera on our house though, so I can always see the street. When I did this, my wife didn't say anything. We continue to do things as a family as we normally would. I have done my best to not let her know what I know and to continue to be a good dad to my kids. The weird thing I'm dealing with now is that she's planned a night out with a friend for drinks. It's a friend from work, so I don't know her at all, and I'm not connected with this person on social media. When she told me, I made up some excuse about work and said I couldn't watch the kids. She ended up getting our neighbor to agree to babysit. Now I'm debating if I should follow her to really see if she's meeting her friend or the guy. It seems like I'm heading towards a confrontation. Either way, when I just want everything to go back to normal. I'm going to leave my house soon and pretend to be going to work. I'll probably just go to a bar to kill time until I can drive by the place she's supposed to be going to. I'm filled with fucking dread about all of this. Update. I've had so many messages asking how I am doing that I felt I should probably post an update. On the night when she was going out with her friend, I still pretended I had work and left the house after the babysitter arrived. I went to a bar and had a few drinks. Then I drove over to the restaurant she said she was going to. I saw her car in the parking lot. I'm not going to lie, I was on edge and incredibly nervous despite the drinks earlier. I was so worried I would walk in and see her with that guy. I was hoping to sneak in and get a look without being seen, but that failed miserably. She saw me as soon as I walked in the door. She was with her friend and not the guy. We had the "what are you doing here? Thought you were working" expected conversation. I told her work ended early, so I wanted to stop by to say hi since we had a babysitter. I left after a couple drinks and went home to relieve the sitter. So many of you have commented on my last post that I need to confront her, and I decided in that moment that I would. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I got the kids to bed and waited for her to come home. I watched the video again to remind myself of what happened. When she got home, she was surprised I was still up, and apparently could tell from the way I looked that something was wrong. I poured it all out on her. It probably wasn't fair of me. I didn't even let her sit down. I told her everything. I played part of the video to show her what I saw. I called her some harsh names, said she ruined our lives. In that moment I was incredibly angry. She was very upset, heavily crying and shaking. She told me how terrible she felt about everything that happened. I told her she had to tell me everything that happened with that guy, and she laid it all out. She cheated on me twice with him. After the time I saw them, she cut things off because she knew it was wrong, and she loves me. I asked her for proof, but she said she had already deleted and blocked him on her phone, Facebook, and Instagram. She did tell me that he is single and knew she was married. She asked me to delete the video, but I refused. She asked me why, and I really didn't have a reason other than I feel I need to hold on to it for now. She got a little angry at that and asked if I was keeping it to watch again. It was very late at this point, so we decided to go to bed and talk more the next day when we had more time to think. She continued to apologize repeatedly for what she did. We slept separately that night. Over the next few days things between us seemed better. I felt some relief that it was all out in the open now. We have continued to talk, and it feels like we are on a path of staying together and moving past this. I have made it clear that she is never to see or talk to that guy again. While things feel like they are improving, I am still struggling to trust her. Worse yet is that I have a trip coming up for work and I'll be gone for a few days. I've told her that I am not comfortable with leaving right now, but I can't skip this trip. My boss made it clear that I'm needed. She said I could put cameras up in the house to keep an eye on her if it would make me feel better. Sadly, I may do that. I'll be gone for at least 3 days. Overall, things are okay. Kids are oblivious that anything is going on, and it seems that slowly my wife and I will eventually get back to normal. I hope so, at least. I'm a little ashamed to admit that I have watched the video a few times since all of this. I'm thinking that I should probably delete it so it's gone from my life. I don't know what's wrong with me. Second story. I slept with my best guy friend who used me for sex, and now I am sad. I wanted to say thank you so much for diving into my story. I really appreciate everyone's comments. I've, 29F, known my guy friend, 29M, for over 10 years, and we've always been really good friends. We've never dated, but we have slept together a couple of times in the past. Recently, I went to visit him in his city and stayed at his place. At the time, he was dating someone, but they broke up right before I arrived. He assured me there was no way he was getting back together with his ex, and it was not a break but an actual breakup. During my stay at his place, he acted nice initially, made advances on me, and led me on. I could clearly tell he wanted sex. We ended up having sex twice. However, after that, he started avoiding me completely and wouldn't even talk to me while we were both living in his place. He had promised to take me around and show me the city, but he ignored me instead. When I confronted him about it, he said his ex had contacted him and he made a trip to see her. He admitted he felt guilty about what happened between us, and that he did it out of revenge, because his ex seemed fine after their breakup. So he had sex with me to let out his feelings. So that's why he avoided me, but he insisted that he did not use me for sex, and said he did not want to lose me as a friend, and that he was sorry. He said we should put what happened behind us, and continue being friends. He told me that after we had sex, his ex texted him wanting to meet. He went to see her, and the moment he did, he felt guilty and sorry for her. He then started considering whether he wanted to reconcile with her. I don't know if he did end up getting back with her, and I don't care. What I'm upset about is that he wasn't open about this. He could have sat down, talked things through, and admitted it was a mistake instead of making me confront him about why he was icing me out. I don't think this is how friends should act. I feel really hurt, not because I'm jealous. Like I said, I do not want to date him and do not want to be with him as we don't think we are a good fit. But because I feel like my friend used me for sex and brought me into his mess. What I'm pissed about is that his behavior was so different before versus after we had sex, and he's the one icing me out and avoiding me, and not acting like a friend. I ended up cutting my trip short and rebooked my flight home as I felt I needed to sit down and rethink our friendship, and have decided that I need to go and see. We have had sex 2-3 times over the past 11 years, so it has not been frequent. Throughout this time, we have dated other people without feeling jealous. Each time we had sex, we felt it brought us closer and strengthened our bond. We have always trusted each other deeply and agreed not to let sex interfere with actual relationships. We only had sex when we were both single. This time was different. I wouldn't have had sex with him if I had known he wasn't over his ex. Before we were intimate, he assured me he was over his ex and showed that he cared about me. But afterward, he stopped communicating and shut himself off from me while I was staying at his place. However, this time I was unaware that he wasn't over his ex. He told me that he hadn't had sex with her for 7 months. No longer loved her since last year, and had always wanted to break up with her. I assumed that since he initiated the breakup, he would be okay. My intention was based on our history of having good sex without complications, and I believed he was already single. I would never have slept with him if I knew he was still in a relationship. During the first couple of days, he did push me into this by holding hands, hugging me, and trying to kiss me and pinning me to the bed. Because of this, I assumed he was over his ex and trusted that he wouldn't have cheated on her if he still had feelings for her. I knew he wasn't boyfriend material because I knew he would never be faithful if I ever dated him. I won't tell his ex because I know my friend is going through a tough time BC of the breakup. And I don't want to hurt him and don't want to get in the way of his relationship if he does decide to get back with her. Third story. Am I overreacting? Wife lied to me. I will try not to draw this out too long. My wife and I have been married for about 4 years now. We have had a lot of ups and downs in our relationship. A few years ago she got depressed and cheated on me with a woman. I was devastated and am still recovering from the wound. I decided to try to forgive her and work on our marriage. Fast forward 3 years and we have a great relationship. We are happy. We have a great home life. Or so I thought. She came to me a couple months ago saying she wanted a divorce. This stung, but part of me expected it. She had always talked about feeling like something was off in our marriage, but she married me hoping she would get past it. I was not fully aware until recently that she felt like we could not have a deep connection because we are too different in our values, beliefs, etc. I never felt this way before until now because of what she told me in the last few weeks. Her bringing up divorce opened a can of worms. She told me she got kissed by a girl a year ago and she never told me until now. She said she did not initiate the kiss. She also told me that she tried to get into contact with the person she cheated on me with before she brought up the divorce. However, she was not able to contact them. She said she just wanted a friend since she was planning on divorcing me. Now I feel betrayed and scared. After we have been talking, she has backtracked the divorce somewhat. We are not actively planning divorce, but it is not off the table. I feel scared because I can't even imagine building a family together and having her cheat on me and tear our family apart. Or, just flat out divorce me because she doesn't feel a connection with me. I am just emotional, scared, confused, and I don't know what to believe. I am internally panicking and depressed. Am I overreacting to her lying to me about the kiss and not telling me for weeks, months about her attempt to contact the cheating partner? Fourth story. Found out GF has been cheating. Found out early this morning my GF 32 has been cheating on me, M35, during our entire relationship. We have been together for a year, and just moved and signed our lease just last month in June. She used his name under an alias of Natalie, not the real alias name, in her texts. Took a few pictures of the texts, went to the gym to gather my thoughts, and confronted her for about maybe 5 minutes. She denied it at first, then became defensive, then finally fessed up. I ended it right there. I then immediately emailed our landlord to get my name off the lease, and immediately blocked the now ex-GF on everything. Our landlord is actually being incredibly accommodating, understanding, and allowing me to break the lease on August 30th with at most just needing to pay 1 month's worth of rent. Too easy. Only way the ex-GF can contact me is via email in regards to the lease. I will be having to live here for a couple more weeks, but there will be no communication between us. Thankfully, the lease is literally the only legal thing binding us. Next up is getting tested for STDs. Also found out she had been seeing a patient romantically at the behavioral health facility she is a nurse manager at. The dude is a felon and does meth. She had been getting free tattoos from him and paying for his rent at his halfway house. I'm honestly just absolutely disgusted by her and the garbage human being she actually is. No idea who my ex-GF even is now. Just another stranger. To anyone else who has been cheated on, walk away immediately. Cut them out completely. Keep moving on. I promise myself and everyone here she will never hear from me again once I'm out of the apartment for good. Stay strong everyone.